Oh boy, are we back again? What is this? How many days in a row has this been now? We got a couple days in a row. Ooh, ooh, popping some Lambrusco. Look at this. You guys know about Lambrusco? You guys know about Lambrusco from Emilia Romagna. This is like a sparkling reddish wine. Look at this. In Lambrusco, sorry, in Emilia Romagna, they do this like Pepsi, and they have those little spray things like behind the bar, and they fill up your glass with Lambrusco. It's not known for its quality wine, which is why they started doing Lambrusco. So they got their own thing going on. It's very interesting stuff. Crazy stuff. Oh man. Oh man. Oh man. How are we feeling today? Are we feeling amped up today? Are we feeling amped up today? Guys, we have to admit, yesterday, early morning in particular, God, it was rough. You're waking up, you see them trying to steal the election, and your first thought is are they going to be able to get away with it? What are they going to do? They always do this. They always get away with their crimes. Not this time, guys. Not this time. And you started to feel, as the day went on, energy starting to shift. And you wake up today, totally different vibe. You wake up today, and you know they're on the back foot. You know they're on the back foot. We have got tons of momentum behind us now. And so I want to emphasize this. We're going to get into some granular details here. But to all the people out there who doom post about this stuff, we're still like, I don't know if he's going to be able to stop him. Everybody is looking at them cheat around the world. Everybody around the world is watching them cheat. And the media is trying to cover some stuff up, but everybody's seeing it. Everybody across the world sees them cheating. They see it's like Banana Republic shit, that they won't let anybody into the buildings, trying to keep people like 30 feet away, boarding up the buildings, not enforcing court orders. I want to emphasize something here, okay? Let's talk a little bit about where we stand. We have a group of people who are breaking multiple laws in front of everybody against another group of people that control the military, that have the support of an armed and extremely enthusiastic population, and that control the court systems. So tell me for a second here how this is going to go down. Tell me for a second how you think this is going to go down in the end. Okay, I tweeted about this today because I think it's an important way to look at it. These are criminals who've been caught committing a crime, and they just haven't pulled over the vehicle. They're just trying to outrun the police. That's all they're doing. And people are like, they're going to get away with it. They're not getting away with it. They're running away from the police. They're going to get caught, and they're going to get fucked. And they're going to get fucked big time, because this is like, they've been stealing elections for a long time. Okay? We talked about, God, what was it called? What I called yesterday. It was a computer program that was used in 2012 by Obama that would slightly change votes over. But and then of course, they had the usual dead people voting. They had the usual absentee mail-in voting fraud. But they were stealing, like, mostly in blue areas, and like they were probably stealing 2% of the vote. Okay? Now they're stealing like 6%. They're stealing hundreds of thousands of votes. It's going to knock out their entire operation. They're done. Crossroads. Thank you. That was it. Crossroads. Okay. The Great Awakening is happening. The Great Awakening is beginning to happen. I talked about this yesterday. 3 waves, right? First wave was in March with COVID restrictions. Okay. Or it began in March through the spring. And you started to see over the course of the spring, as the restrictions continued past, 15 days to slow the spread, you started to see people wake up. We were the first wave. Actually, I can't say we were first on the ground. Well, maybe I can say that. There were people who were reconnaissance units that were in the territory beforehand. But first invasion hit the beaches last spring. Okay, the second wave is coming out right now, and you're seeing this more in Europe. You're starting to see more protests around the lockdowns. They're only going to be partially successful this time. In the spring, they're not going to be successful at all. Okay, but so people are waking up, and you better believe that centrist Democrats are seeing this stuff, and even though they don't like Trump, they know what's going on, and it makes them really uncomfortable because of course they want to see their side win, but there's a certain line that people cross. It's like, this is not, if you have any sort of integrity whatsoever, and there are lots of Democrats who have integrity, that they just get sick with the entire thing. They get sick watching this kind of banana republic stuff. So good is going to triumph. It's like, I can't even emphasize how bad of a position they're in. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, people seem to get upset and think like, well, they have the media and they have tech. It doesn't matter, guys. That just makes them get fucked themselves. That makes big tech, that makes all of big tech and the media are going to collapse big time from this entire thing. Because they're covering it up, but people are seeing it. It's still getting out there. People are seeing it. If Trump wanted to have 1 million people out on the streets armed, he could do that. He could say, I want my supporters to come to Philadelphia and put pressure on them to enforce the law. Do you think that you're not going to see traffic backed all the way to Harrisburg, filled with guys in pickup trucks, with hunting rifles and American flags coming into the city? They are in a very, very bad position. They're trying to stage a coup, but they don't have the support of the military and they don't have the support of the armed population. I'm going to keep emphasizing this. And they don't have support of the courts, including the Supreme Court, the most important one. They don't have a good hand. And they can gaslight the public, and that's only going to work to a certain extent. Because at the end of the day, there's an investigation, and they're actively bringing on the investigation, and they're going to get screwed by it. So let's talk about a couple of reasons why they're going to get screwed by it. So one of the things that was asked was, okay, so let's say that this theory about the watermarked ballots, right? This is a Q thing. They talked about, but by the way, Q's predicted a lot of these things. You just have to give credit where credit's due. Talking about Maricopa County, talking about the Sharpies there. This was all in Q postings, guys. I mean, it sounds weird, but so they also mentioned about watermarks and about how, and you know, Trump's tweeted out in June of this last year, he tweeted out before about all foreign intervention in the election and that there's going to be all sorts of fraudulent ballots. Okay. People have asked, and I think it's a good question, and I'm going to give one good answer and one okay answer. Okay. One that may not be as satisfying, but the good answer, okay, about why would these watermark ballots matter? Okay, let's say it's true that the Department of Homeland Security, this actually is true, by the way, but the Department of Homeland Security created a separate branch after the 2018 midterms, and they took control over the distribution of ballots, and that every ballot has a serial number and watermark that is not visible. So why does that matter? Well, you know, if they're just like filling out ballots randomly, how does that matter? Well, I can give you a circumstance where it definitely matters. When you have 130,000 ballots arrive in the middle of the night. Sorry, but those ballots are not going to be Department of Homeland Security ballots. Okay? They didn't come from inside the voting precinct. They were brought into the voting precinct, and they were brought in a very, very haphazard, very, very abrupt manner. So I'm going to bet you guys anything that is not those ballots, because you just can't get that many ballots, and that's why they were 100% towards Biden. They were printed out. And so you're going to get the ones in Michigan, you're going to get the ones in Wisconsin that came in the middle of the night. You're going to get those thrown out immediately because they're going to be considered to be automatic fraud. And think about where that leads. Think about where that leads. Loki made a good point about this. Most of the people who are committing this actual fraud are stupid people. Okay, they're stupid, low IQ people who have been told to do this by their superiors, and maybe they're getting some money for it, whatever. But they're going to get the book thrown at them unless they talk. And you better believe these people are going to start to talk once they realize that they're being put in jail for life for felony voting fraud, right? Especially when they start to tie these ballots, which my guess would be some of these ballots are going to be connected to China. That you're going to start to see direct meddling in the election from China. So when this paper trail starts to happen, people are going to get thrown treason at them. Are you I mean, I'm not saying that this is always the fairest tactic, but you don't think that the district attorney is going to start to throw charges of being a foreign agent in the country, trying to subvert an American election? That's treason. That's the death penalty. So let's just say there's a lot of legal ways to twist these people's arms. Where does it go? I've given you guys very clearly all the different cards that we have, all the different advantages that we have in our hand. The only advantage we don't have is the propaganda mouthpiece. That's the only thing. It's literally the only thing. And they're basically daring us to take them down directly right now. They're daring us to do it. But we don't have to do that. We can set up the case. We can take care of it in those means. But the other thing is that I bet you anything that Trump has a Trump card up his sleeve. I bet you anything about that. I bet you that they know a lot more about this already than they've let on. And that maybe they already have some people who are talking, or maybe they're going to get some people who are going to be talking. And you're going to start to see the coordination between the DNC, between the media, between big tech, and between the Chinese government. And you're going to start to see all of it in an attempt to undermine the election. You're going to see widespread voting fraud across the entire country. Now, is everything going to come out in the next month? No. No. But it's going to be such a massive scandal, and so many heads are going to roll, that you're going to see this second wave of awakening pick up in real time. You're going to see a lot more people start to be like, huh, that's weird. That's not right. These things together, they become impossible to ignore at a certain point. So, as always, have faith with this. Guys, we're ready to go. And this is another little false dichotomy I just want to address, because people seem to say this. It's like, Trump's not going to do anything. Only we can do something, right? Like, you have to go out and you have to fight for this. Trump's not going to do anything. Why are these two things mutually exclusive? You have some people who are like, don't do anything, trust the plan. And then you have people who are like, go out there yourself, Trump's not going to. Why are the two things mutually exclusive? The way that I look at it, and it's the correct way, by the way, to look at it, is that you have Trump who's sticking his neck out, and we have to rally to the president. Rally to the president. Let him know that we have his back, that we are here, standing by, ready to do what needs to be done. And we can go out and we can put some pressure on these rigged counting places, and the Pennsylvania Convention Center in Philadelphia. We can go out there, we can put pressure on them. But we got to keep it nonviolent. We have to keep it nonviolent, because not only because we're not, if God help us if it gets to that point, but we're not anywhere there yet, right? We're not anywhere there yet. But also, we are here to help make good optics for the president. We want him to see that he has a show of support, but we don't want to do anything that's going to compromise his position. So this isn't about like being lazy and checking out, but it's also not about just having a blanket distrust of somebody who stuck out his neck for us over the past 5 years. Okay, a year in the campaign, 4 years in presidency. All he's done is stuck out his neck for us. We got to have his back. We got to have his back, and we got to trust him. Which is why you see when he goes out and gives conferences now, people shout at him, "We love you. We love you." He's got loyalty. They don't have loyalty. They're criminals. They are scummy criminals. They don't have any loyalty. They have a bunch of people entrained in fear. They have a bunch of demonically possessed individuals. but they don't have loyalty of strong, you know, of strong and confident Americans, right? Americans who are ready to fight. They don't have that. So they're in a bad position. I don't want you guys to forget that. I want you guys to start to enjoy the fight. You ever see Trump? When we go out and we see Trump, we see him fight. Does he look like he gets? Sometimes he looks a little more stressed than others. But does Trump ever look like he's like dejected? Trump never looks dejected. And most of the time, Trump looks like he's having a good time. He's having a good time bullying him. Because he knows the power that's behind him. And that's been the problem with the right for such a long time, is that they don't know how to take hits anymore. Someone throws one punch at them and they fall, okay, don't hit me anymore, don't hit me. Trump loves the fight. He knows that they're paper tigers. They're bullies. It's like a bully on the playground. They're going to say all sorts of stuff. They're going to try to intimidate you. You stand up to them, and then they cower back. We got these guys on the run. We got them on the run, and we're going to roll up their entire operation now. And nobody's done that before. Trump's the first one to do it. So anybody who you see doom posting, you either got it, they get like one strike. They get one strike to get their fucking act together before you cut them out. I'm serious. I am so sick and tired of cowards. I'm so sick and tired of weak people, weak-minded people who can't understand, who can't even fight in a fight where you have an advantage. Like, this isn't, Trump has the votes and they're trying to steal the votes. It's not the other way around. It's not that they stopped and got rid of Trump's votes. He doesn't have the votes. He has the votes, and they're printing things. It's easy to get. The other point here I wanted to make about the fraud, because I talked about how you're going to have hundreds of thousands of ballots that are not Department of Homeland Security ballots. But what about the other ones? Now, this is the answer that's maybe a little less satisfying. And after this, I'll answer some questions. Okay, I used to work in fraud investigations. I would not consider myself to be, how do I put it? I'm not a detective in the sense that I'm not like a murder detective. I can't see every little piece of the, that people who are trained in it are. But what I'm trying to get across to you is that people are like, well, how could they tell that this ballot was tampered with? And the question I would ask you is, how do you know if a house was burned down by arson or whether a house was burned down due to some electrical issue or whether it was a mistake? How do you figure that out? How do you know if someone committed suicide or whether they were shot? Well, the answer is you don't know, but a murder detective knows, or somebody who's able to investigate fires. I don't know the name for that. They know. So the point here is that there are people who specialize in being able to detect election fraud. And you already see people doing it on Twitter, right? They can already determine statistically through modeling, they can detect aberrations and they can target areas that are outside of the mean. Areas that do not make any sense under the circumstances. And those are areas that they'll dig deeper into. And they're going to find people who are like 150 years old, like they've been finding on the Michigan ballots. So it's a little less satisfying, but I just want to emphasize the fact that there are people who specialize in these things, and they understand this much, much better than you or I do. Way better. I mean, they can look at the serial numbers and they can see something doesn't match up with the name, the registered voter, things that to us, well, we don't really necessarily know. Because every registered voter has a specific serial number, from what I understand, for their ballot. And so if they used a different ballot, even if it was a DHS ballot, that ballot may not be considered to be legitimate. All right, let's check these questions here. Yeah, they're going to try to do that, spin it and say that Trump stole the election and we get 4 more years of hate Trump. They're going to try to do that, but the thing is they're losing credibility rapidly. And there's less and less people that are believing this, especially as people start to get arrested. And you better believe that once Trump gets the clear go-ahead as president, that people are going to start to get arrested. It's going to come out in the Supreme Court investigation. I guarantee it, guys. It's going to start to happen. This is when they have revealed themselves publicly. They've revealed themselves publicly as committing crimes. Everybody's watching it. It's not some little story. It's not some side story. It's the U.S. presidential election. And they've been caught red-handed doing it in front of the entire world. I want that to let that sink in, as they say. But seriously, it's a very, very big deal. They're losing a lot of credibility. There's double voting, yes. Yeah, I mean, and maybe they'll try to take it in Georgia. I know that he's only a couple thousand away. They just keep printing stuff. Now they say they need until next week. But guys, this is a joke. It's not anything to be worried about. It's actually it's funny. It's funny to think that they actually think they're going to get away with that. But they know they're not going to get away with it. Their whole hope now is we're going to barricade ourselves up in this building and just keep printing ballots. And then we'll just say some bullshit that Biden actually won. No one believes it. No one believes it. There's no energy behind it, is what I'm trying to say. There may be people who say, well, Biden got it. There's no energy behind it. No one actually believes it. And I've been telling you guys about energy. Energy matters, because when someone's stealing, their energy's low because they're kind of worried about being caught. So even the people who are like, oh, Trump's just, Trump supporters are coping. Hey, we're not coping. We're not coping. Cope is me being like you and sitting around saying, well, Trump should just accept it. Whatever. He could just try again later. And I don't want to create a little bit of a fight. I don't want to make, we shouldn't make an issue. It's not good for the democracy. Little bitches. Little bitches. We're not coping. We're fighting. We are not coping. We are fighting. And these people who are going to sit there and mumble to themselves about, oh, cope, we are going to get so many races overturned. So many races overturned. I would love to see the look on these people's faces in a couple of months. They're sitting around with their thumb in their ass, whining. I see this. I have to make a comment about this. I see this a lot in the manosphere, especially among some people who who are in the dating space. They are such little bitches. I swear to God, they are such little bitches. They just whine and complain all the time. And look, I have a lot of empathy for guys who struggle with women. I work with guys who struggle with women, or guys who are trying to get to the next level. Some guys, different ranges of competency. But it's do you ever look at yourself in the mirror and ask, why do you have to be in this space so long? But no, here you are complaining and whining about what men are doing. You're complaining and whining about men standing up for themselves. And you're wondering maybe why you need to work on things with women. A lot of these guys would just prefer to go back to masturbating inside random women. And they don't actually want to participate in politics, which is a man's sport. I find it very, very sad, to say the least. Ooh. Let's see here. Yeah, microdot printer identification, OLD technology, easy to track. Yeah, people who know about this stuff. They understand the technology. The military uses this stuff. I mean, it's not media's tying their own noose. I know. I get you with this about Hunter Biden. Why aren't they doing anything? It makes me upset. I know this is very, very frustrating to hear, and I feel frustrated at times myself. But timing is everything. Timing is everything. Okay? Trump needs to get a big hit to the media. He needs to make a big hit to the criminal class. And he needs to get legitimacy for his election. He needs to get an election mandate, before he can move forward with that. I want it to be understood here that the cabal knows they're not winning. They know they can't win this. What they're trying to do is they're trying to sacrifice their supporters in a civil war, and they're hoping that they can sneak out somehow in the chaos. That's what they're hoping to do. They're hoping that they can crash the US into a civil conflict and then transfer their assets to China and rebuild there. That's their aim, because if the US is in good shape and together, they can't make that transition. So, and they could care less about, this is the funny thing about like Antifa, these people, they're going to get mowed down. I'm not joking. In the event of a civil war, Antifa is going to get mowed down in like 2 seconds. Okay? They're going to, like, even if they throw money at them, between the military units, the combat units, which are going to go overwhelmingly towards the right, in between regular citizens who are going to be literally sniping at Antifa as they try to move around the country, Antifa is not going to last at all. None of these leftists are going to last in the event of a civil conflict, but it would fracture American society, and you'd have random terror attacks, etc., and it would completely distract the United States and destabilize it. That you would, and this is what the cabal would wants to do. So I want to emphasize here that, like, they don't think Biden's going to win the election. They know he's not going to actually win and take power. That they know that that's not going to happen at this point. It's not a possibility. It's not a possibility. What they want to do is they want to try to destabilize the U.S. and delegitimize Trump as much as possible. So one of the things that they do, Trump and them have been playing this game of cat and mouse, where they know Trump knows everything about them, and they're daring Trump to release it because they control the propaganda outlets. And so it's like a game of chicken, where it's like, who's gonna blink first? Oh, Trump, are you sure you want to tell him about that? Because if you do, we're gonna have half the country think you're a fascist and start a domestic insurrection. Then you're gonna have to put it down by force. You're gonna want to do that? Trump doesn't want to do that. So that's why I keep saying controlled demolition. It's a controlled demolition. It would be easy to blow this thing up. People want it to get blown up. I was talking to someone the other day. Stupidest fucking comment I've ever heard. He said, well, Trump shouldn't be president because he's too weak to stop people from stealing the election from him. Which, like, don't even get me started on the foundations of that logic. But beyond that, it begets this question that's like, well, why Trump smash? Trump should have just done this. That's not how it works if you want to keep the country together. You have to be very, very strategic about this, and you let them destroy themselves. You have to wake up the population. You have to make the population understand that people who are lying to them are lying to them. And the way you do that is this. The way you do that is you give them a juicy, juicy morsel, and you give them the rope to hang themselves. So we're going to get to Biden's laptop. We're going to get to that. Don't you worry. We're getting to that. But we have to get legitimacy for Trump. And to do that, he needs a resounding 2020 win. People need to see the red wave. Okay, we need a strong popular vote victory. And maybe after this fraud, maybe you're going to see states like Virginia flip too. Maybe it's going to be even bigger. But we're going to take the House of Representatives. It's going to be big, guys. It's going to be a big win once the fraud is excised. And Rudy Giuliani himself has been talking about national recount, that they're going to be checking nationally, not simply, it's going to start in these swing states, but it's going to gradually expand. And they're going to say, well, wait a minute. What's going on in California? We're going to go there now and check this out. In Virginia. And then they're going to do it across the entire country. They're going to say the fraud is everywhere. So we have to have the National Guard go and monitor a recounting and reinvestigation of the legitimacy of ballots across the entire United States. And you're going to see Trump probably winning places like Rhode Island. He was winning Rhode Island. And then 100,000 absentee ballots, which, by the way, in a state like Rhode Island, which has 500,000 people, million people, is pretty big. That's pretty big. Okay, that's a tenth of the population in absentee ballots just coming right in. My guess is that a lot of states that we just think of as permanently blue are only that way because of fraud. It's my guess. My guess is that a lot of states are not nearly as calcified as blue as we thought. But as they've taken more and more control of the machine, remember, Rudy Giuliani was mayor of New York City 20 years ago. Okay, Bloomberg, before his third term, was a Republican as well. So this corruption has been getting a lot worse. Now it's like, I mean, when I voted in New York, and by the way, I have a story to tell you guys real quick. When I voted in New York, I didn't have an option to vote for a Republican on a local level, so I didn't vote for them. I just voted for the assemblyman, the state senator. I voted for the state senator and state representative, but I couldn't vote for an assembly person in New York City that was Republican. There was no option. None of the judges were Republican. They were all Democrats. I mean, that doesn't seem like it seems like a completely captured system, right? And it's been like this for a long time, which is why you have these machine politics. But the only reason they are able to continue to do that is because of fraud. So a little story. Now, I don't want to assign too much credibility to this necessarily. I don't want to be claiming things that maybe were not legitimate, but I consider myself a New Jerseyan, okay? Lived in Manhattan for 5 years, but after COVID, moved back full-time, pretty much full-time with my parents. My wife and I did. And so in my mind and for the census and for taxes, I re-domiciled in New Jersey as of March, okay? I'm in New York now. I've been paying for an apartment, but I've only been here a little bit. I've spent 80% of my time in New Jersey. Okay, so I registered in New Jersey again to vote because I wanted to vote in my state for my election. And I was confirmed that I did register to vote. But when I went to go vote on election day, I was not in the registration. Okay, I was not in the books. There was no indication that I had been registered on the rolls. Now, I don't want to necessarily jump to conclusions with it because I felt like the online process was a bit sketchy and way too easy to do, frankly, way too easy to do. But I'm going to make the point that I was registered as a Republican and I never received any indication despite having confirmation that I had registered to vote, I was never placed in the books. Now, I somewhat expected this. In fact, I did expect it, if I'm being honest here. I was like, I'm going to New Jersey to vote, but I'm sure I'm not going to be registered there. Just felt like I wasn't going to have it, and I wasn't. And it was okay because I was still registered in New York, so I drove to New York later the day and I voted here instead. But very weird, right? Very strange. First off, the process was way too easy. But second off, why wasn't I in there? I was there well before the deadline. I was there 2 weeks before the deadline. Anyway, more questions here. Trump is being awfully quiet. Hope it means he has a strong hand. What's the art of war? Appear weak when you are strong. One of the biggest maxims in the art of war. Trump's favorite book, by the way, you should read it. Appear weak when you are strong. Trump is letting them do their thing while everyone watches. Trump's not distracting people. He's letting people watch them. And he'll make comments here and there, but he's waiting. He's waiting until he has the perfect moment to strike. Don't worry about that. And that's why I want us to bring the energy, because Trump shouldn't be the only one Trump's a leader. Okay, let me guys tell you something about leadership. Trump's a leader. Trump brings the energy for us, and we feed off of his energy, right? That's what a good leader does. A good leader brings up everyone's vibration. That's leadership versus management, right? Which is not bad, but management is more material. Leadership is entirely about energy. Leadership is entirely about raising people's vibration, right? You pull them from fear into courage. You pull them from courage into joy, right? That they're happy. Happy warriors, right? You've heard that term. That's the result when you have good leadership. Your fighters feel like they're happy when they're fighting. They're enjoying fighting. Their spirits are high. Okay? But we can't just keep giving all this to Trump. We can't just keep depending on him. We're not children. We can't just keep depending on Trump to be like, we're going to raise your Like, well, Trump needs to say something so we feel better. Trump broke down the door. He's breaking down the door right now. And what happens if they kill Trump? Huh? What happens if they shot him? What happens then? Are you guys going to give up? You guys are going to abandon the cause all of a sudden? Do you think that he would want that? We can't keep relying on him to bring energy. He gets rejuvenated when we're there for him. When he knows that we have his back, it makes it easier for him to have our back. And Trump has just been giving and giving and giving to us. That's all he's been doing for a long time. He's been giving to us. Let's give back. Let's give back. Let's get into the position of agency where we can say, we got this, Trump. Trump, you can go quiet for a couple days, but we're not going quietly. We don't want you to go quietly. We're here. We're ready to fight. Call us if you need us. We're ready to fight. Let us do it. Let us go. Let us take action. Even if he decides not to do that, do you know how much more confident that makes him feel? How much more energy it gives him? He's still a human. I mean, he is divinely ordained for this cause and for this moment, but he's still a human. And I can't even tell you how sad it must be for him to see people like little rat-faced weasels like Ben Shapiro kvetch. But well, in the 2022 midterms, well, we can hold up their agenda in the 2022 midterms. It's like disgusting to me that people even watch this person. It's just like sickening. He's a sickening individual. Just the biggest slime ball. And just because someone has some of the same views as you, it doesn't mean that you can respect them. This is the kind of person he would sell you out in 2 seconds. 2 seconds he'd sell you out to save his own skin. His kids are out there on the ground. His kids are taking action. His kids understand that. His kids love their father. And they're there fighting for him. But I guarantee you guys, Trump's not like, this isn't like we're reading some bullshit, whitewashed book that they just, plastered together from like a fictional novel about how Trump spends all his time in the Oval Office watching Fox News, stupid shit. Let's please be realistic here. Maybe he's undergoing a pretty significant military operation at the moment. Maybe he's meeting with his advisors to figure out exactly the next steps. Maybe he's monitoring all the fraud. We don't really, let's give him the benefit of the doubt, at least. Yeah, there are small protests only in Europe. This is true. And it's going to get bigger over time. It's going to get bigger over time. My guess is that they probably won't even last. I know they're supposed to last until early December. My guess is they won't last that long. They'll end a bit earlier. But I do think that, there are actually protests, though, and there were no protests in Europe before. There were no protests in Europe. Okay, so this is going to be a big step in the right direction because Europeans are starting to wake up. I would say Europeans are a little bit on a lag from most Americans because it's something against my European friends. I'm a Europhile, but Europeans don't have nearly the same relationship with freedom and government overreach as Americans do, particularly outside of the shit-lib cities. So it's something that's just takes a little bit longer to change the consciousness in that sense. Sting operation is, I think it's like, I would actually say it's like 95% the case. 95% pre-planned sting, 5% they're going to get caught anyway in the act and it's not a sting. But it feels like it just feels like there's been preparations in place for this. Let me just put it that way. That there's been some preparations in place to take care of this because Trump's known that they're going to do this for a long time. I said this yesterday. I could predict that they were going to do this. Trump, these are people who lied for years, tried to impeach him, spy on his campaign, made up all sorts of rumors about, Russiagate. Like, do you think for a second he thought that they were going to just, okay, we're going to concede Trump. You win. You can send us all to jail. He knew they were going to do this. And we can quibble about details about how much he knew about specific plans. But some people have made the point, and I think it's really good. You know, when they started the panic in the middle of the night where they had to shut off multiple states of vote counting in the middle of the night, they're communicating with each other, right? They're communicating with each other, and they probably broke some secret protocols before. Maybe they were trying to do things to encrypt or try to hide their communications. They were being much more secretive about it, having plans predetermined, not under electronic surveillance. I bet you anything in the middle of the night, especially with the stupid people who they had in these positions, that they were texting, "Hey, where's the ballots? Bring in those ballots. We need to put Biden's name on them." Like, I'm sure that Trump has the signals intelligence from that stuff because the NSA has a dragnet. The NSA has a dragnet. They can get all of that stuff. They can, it would not be difficult. And you don't even have to just use the NSA dragnet. You could just simply subpoena the phone communiques of everybody who was there. Like, there are so many tools to get this done, guys. There's so many tools to get this done. This is not like people are like, how are we going to catch him? The only thing that was ever missing was the will. You guys understand that? The only thing ever missing to stop them was the will to stop them. And Trump has the will. We have the will. And that's why we're going to stop him. And Trump has a plan too. Think of the days of darkness are coming as he refuses to transfer power. Some people speculate on it. I don't know. I've heard also 7 days in November. 7 days in November would likely have been the election through now. So we'd be at day 3. Sky Fox Day, right? I don't know. I'm kind of tired of speculating on the days of darkness. It could be a metaphor. People, I think, assign too much importance to it. Let's just say if it is as explicit as it is, then we're gonna know about it. We're gonna like really, really know. But some of the things, and this is one of the big issues with the Q people and why a lot of people don't take them seriously, even though there's a lot of good intel there, is that you have people spread stuff around like, we're gonna release, like, Trump's gonna text everyone and say, "Ladies and gentlemen, the storm is upon us." Like, this is so like fucking melodramatic. It's like he's going to say the storm is upon us, and then there's going to be everyone's televisions are going to start live streaming, tribunals of. Sorry, it doesn't. Do you like? That's not how this stuff works. Like, it doesn't just happen like that. Like, everything gets shut off and emergency message system, and Trump says the storm's upon us. So no. I don't think he's ever going to say that. I don't know where people came up with that idea that he was going to say it. If we do get military tribunals and we're watching it, people are going to be expecting that. By that point, consciousness will be seated enough that they're going to be prepared to watch this stuff on television, and they're going to be notified of it. There's not going to be some sort of arbitrary disruption. Okay, that's the workings of a very, very poor psychological operation. And let's just say this is not a poor psychological operation. It's the best psychological operation that's ever been run in the last 26,000 years. What about Mutt Predict It? Yep, I'm glad, man. I'm glad. Look, it's normal for us to have moments. Normal for us to have moments of feeling weak and feeling a little bit of despair. It's normal. I mean, remember Abraham Lincoln, right? Abraham Lincoln had to suffer so much on the burden of the Civil War. You're allowed to have your moments of depression. You're allowed to have moments of this. Moments. But then you pull yourself up together and you keep it to yourself. I think it's important. You keep it to yourself, or you just talk about it with a close friend or with a confidant. But really take it up with God, because you'll get you're backing from there. But it's very important not to show weakness and despair. And that's why I get really disgusted by a lot of these influencers in our corner, because they'll just spread their doubts everywhere all the time. And it's just like, they like to see people get demoralized, because then people drop, right? Cerno, then people drop and they get worried, and then they want to hear more from him. And so then he can bring them down like a doom and gloom cycle. And then he might say, well, maybe now there's some hope. Maybe now we can change something. And so they get addicted to this like drama roller coaster. And so he'll bring their vibration low, and then he'll bring it up, and then he'll bring it low. And it's just mind games, guys. It's mind games. That's all it is. I do think that they are going to do something about the Sharpies, although, because that was another thing on Q, right? I don't know what's going to happen exactly. I mean, how long do I think it's going to take? So let's talk about that for a second. How long is it going to take? Okay, I am very much of the opinion, I think that we see the worst of this done within a week. I think that Trump is going to be able to have pretty much, I mean, they're going to claim that maybe he's too premature, but Trump's going to have solid credibility to declare victory in the presidential race. Okay, he may need to get some official confirmation from the Supreme Court. The left may say that, no, we can continue to count votes for another month. But he's going to be able to credibly claim the presidency by early next week, right? By Tuesday next week, if not tomorrow, he's going to be able to claim that. The stuff with the investigation and the fraud, that is going to go on. And I think that you're going to see recounts by the end of the month. I would say before Thanksgiving. I don't know how long the court cases are going to take for it. I don't know how long the entire thing's going to happen. It could be very short. It could be that the Supreme Court invalidates all sorts of ballots and then says, we're going to declare a recount across these states and across the country. And then a recount occurs. And that whole process could take 2 weeks total. So you could see it plausibly done by Thanksgiving if that begins next week. But I can tell you that the energy supports tension through the end of the month and maybe even into early December. By mid-December, that tension dissipates a bit as we get closer to the solstice. So I don't have a sense that we're going to have. I mean, it's gonna dip down again later on, but as they try more shenanigans. But I think that we're going to have the sort of second wave of awakening is going to be completed by mid-December, early December, maybe late November, somewhere around there. I don't think we're going to continue to have this sort of tense environment. And remember, I think a good date for it is the Electoral College votes December 14th. So I think that you can say for sure we have everything certified by then across the election. I think that's a pretty fair late end date to claim. So I answered that question, election called this month. I think so, but certainly by mid-December. The Republicans did well in the election. I don't understand why Trump is needed. I don't even understand. I don't even understand this question, as if like we don't need Trump. We can just have a House. We can just get a couple seats in the House and barely hold on to the Senate. I mean, I don't understand. This is like loser talk. Well, I don't even know why we need Trump. It's like fucking. Sorry, this is like, maybe I'm misunderstanding your point, but it just sounds stupid. Like, yeah, just, why do we need the president? He just controls the military and all the investigative agencies. Why do we need him? No big deal. Biden has perfectly vertical lines on the phone count charts where, yeah, I mean, so it's very easily detected. There's plenty of people who have checked it out. There's some stuff floating around with the DHS marked ballots. Stuff from 2018 about new agency being created, a new individual I'm blanking on his name, guys. You guys can post in the comments. Yeah. So Kane. So Jay Kane. Very true. Dude showed up in a Ferrari in the middle of the night with fake ballots in Detroit. It was a Ferrari, a Chrysler, and a white van. You got. By the way, you gotta love Loki pointing out. It's like image of the ballots being taken to a secure location, and it was like just a cop car. It's like, sorry, this is like 96,000 ballots in this cop car. It's like they just post stuff and they think you're just gonna get it. Just gonna get it. Yeah, Trump's been planning for this. Yeah, well, okay, this is great. This is great. I'm glad you brought that up. Who remembers back months ago in Houston? It actually may have even been a year ago at this point. There was a fire at the Chinese consulate, and there was stuff found there. Let's put it that way. They were burning all sorts of papers. Makes me wonder if they did find some of the ballots there. The Chinese were trying to burn some shit. I did talk about Hunter Biden. Although, is he dead? I don't know if he's dead or not. We have not seen him, have we? Does DHS print out and distribute every ballot, though? I do not know the answer to that question, but I believe that every individual, every registered voter in every state has a ballot. The ballots, especially that were sent out in the mail, have indications. Okay. Guys. A piece just came together for me that I was trying to figure out. So here's the things with the DHS ballots. Because the DHS ballots were designed for mailing, okay? It may be that there are ballots within the location for people on election day that's different. This makes sense. This is the piece I couldn't figure out. Every ballot mailed out has a serial number connected to the registered voter, okay? So this is it. And so when they bring in these ballots and they say these are absentee ballots or these are mailed ballots that we haven't counted yet, those ballots don't have the serial number for the person that it was sent out in the mail. That's the difference. That's the missing piece. Because when you come there on election day, you probably don't get a ballot with a serial number. It's just a ballot in the machine. The election day votes are secured, though. The election day votes are easy to not tamper with. But if the votes that were mailed out, you had to send back the ballot that they gave you, and that ballot had a code. So when they bring in all these other ballots and they say this is for this person, this person, this person, they would, in order to get those ballots and have them be legitimate, they would have to do manual ballot harvesting from people's homes. And yes, this stuff has happened. Remember, it happened in Ilhan Omar's district. And there could be some forensic looking into that. But that's much, much more small-scale operation than what we see going on right now that's stealing the election. Because they are just taking regular ballots and they're putting people's names on it, and it doesn't count, and they're claiming that they're mail-in ballots. That's it. That's why it doesn't work. And that's why they're fucked. This is great. I love answering questions because that was the one thing I was trying to get together before this call. I was missing that piece. Apparently Trump was yelling on the phone yesterday. I mean, so what? Like, doesn't mean anything in the context. I'm sure Trump yells on the phone a lot. You've got a lot of people beneath you and you've got a lot of shit going on around you. I'm sure he's stressed. Look, I'm sure he's stressed. Like, guys, like, we knew this was coming and it was stressful. You could tell from Trump's body language late in election night that he wasn't surprised, he was disappointed. Right? He was like, fuck, I gotta go through this. They're really gonna make me do this. They're really gonna make me have to go through this. But that doesn't mean he wasn't prepared. It's very different emotions. Yeah, Lambrusco and pizza, guys. This is it's the pizza wine. It's a perfect wine for pizza. The election was about giving us Trump 17's permission to proceed. The support is the green light. Yep. Man, I'm not going to give specific betting advice like that. To be honest, I think that if they do a national fraud investigation, he's going to get uh, over 329. So I, I'm not going to, I think if you put a little bit down on that, you could cover yourself. You're not going to lose too much, but Biden isn't winning more states. I mean, they're stuffing boxes and they're going to try to claim stuff. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter, guys. It doesn't actually matter at all. Trump drinks real olive oil every day. Trump is like high tea. He's high tea, just naturally high. He's actually taking Propecia too. It just shows like the energy field. I would be like taking Propecia, dude. But he wants to keep that beautiful hair. So power to him. They don't see what's on the line. The quitters don't quit. It's more than just an election. It is. Yep. Well, they definitely have that cross-reference ballot data with death records and address changes. That stuff is going to be taken care of too. That fraud is what's happening across most local jurisdictions. So you have illegals. Okay, so we have this stuff that's going on in the big swing states right now. That's egregious. That's just printing out ballots. But that's not the main fraud that's usually done. The main fraud usually done is some computer manipulation. It's having dead people on the rolls. It's having illegal immigrants vote. And it's some manual harvesting of absentee ballots and flooding it. Now, they might have done, to be honest, they might have also done some, regular fake absentee ballot voting. Also having people from out of state vote. That stuff has been going on for a while. And I feel extremely strongly that that's going to get rooted out along with this. Because you have like California. I mean, the number of seats that they've taken, House seats they've taken from blue states, like New Jersey used to have, I think I mentioned this before, like they had an odd number of House seats and they had one more blue seat than red seat up until 2018. And now they have like two or three left. Like they lost like half of their red seats because of all this late in the game mail fraud. And this is another reason, guys, why like the pussies are so just unconscionable and so ridiculous to deal with, as if you could even allow this to go on and even pretend to continue to have an election cycle. I mean, they just keep stealing more and more each election. And so what are you supposed to do? Just like, well, we'll fight them next time. No, you're not going to fight them next time. They're going to steal it even bigger. They're going to keep stealing it, and then they're going to break up states and add more senators. They're going to pack the court. Okay, it's like people don't get it. They don't get it. Like we can go back to how it was. You can't do that. You can't do it. You fight now. The system, the faith in the system is about to fall apart right now. So you stand up now, and you stand up to go through legal channels, or all that's going to happen is an insurrection. That's the only way that's going to bring back any liberty. We're like at that point in the game right now. We fight this legally in the courts where we have the advantage, or we fight this on the streets. That's where it goes. Because otherwise we're living in a dictatorship. We're living in a communist regime. It's a better way to put it. Because it's really like it's a corporate regime, a corporate communist regime, because people understand it's really the same thing when the corporations control the state. Yeah, Biden's plan, it's like you have to, people were literally voting to have their taxes go up. Literally voting to have their taxes go up. Literally voting to have their industry sent overseas to the primary geopolitical rival. Okay? And literally voting for somebody who said he wants to keep us inside our homes until 2022. Like, if that's not brainwashing, I don't know what is. Because they couldn't have given a worse platform. Yeah, we're going to get rid of the energy industry. We're going to ship out all the manufacturing back to China. We're going to make you stay in your home for the next year and shut down your business. We're going to make you wear a mask all the time and get forcibly vaccinated. And also, I have dementia. And my son is a pedophile. and I used him to get bribes from a communist regime. People still voted for him. Tens of millions voted for him. Okay? Mind blown. It's amazing. It's amazing people just hate Trump so much. I have people like, kind of friends and whatever, acquaintances, not as close as we used to be for obvious reasons. They're like, we have to stop Trump to protect our democracy. You feel like you're protected your democracy right now? Ballot stuffing in the middle of the night? I really wonder what kind of dissonance. They must feel terrible because they can't admit it, but it's just like this like internal tension. Like, well, it's worth it because the ends justify the means. We got to get rid of the Trump because he's bad for democracy. So it's okay if we steal an election. Yeah, it's just unbelievable. Yeah, 90% voter turnout in Wisconsin. Big fucking joke. And guys, you can check this stuff. By the way, another way that we know fraud's being committed is you can cross-check demographics in cities in the same area. So you can see what is the turnout in Cleveland, and then you can check what's the turnout in Milwaukee. And you can see pretty obviously that. And then you can also, of course, cross-check in Milwaukee in past years. And what are they finding, right? They're finding that Biden's turnout is substantially above 2008 Obama in the inner city. This is a guy who could get like 8 people to his rallies. I mean, and with Trump getting more of the minority vote, it's just like, it's so obvious. It's so obvious, which is why, like, black pillars. It's just funny. 5 standard deviations from the mean, exactly. Trump's about to do a speech. Elvis, I'm really happy to hear that. Trump's speaking at the White House half an hour. Oh shit, guys, what time is it right now? Well, you know what? I mean, I'm going to go through this real quickly, but we should maybe jump on and check out the Trumpster. Printer toner. Yeah, the printer stuff too. The printer toner. We ran out of printer toner. That was, by the way, another Q thing about the corn. I think they're talking about corn oil. People were talking about that because that's apparently how what the ink's done in. It's done in an ethanol-based oil. Who knows? Yep. It doesn't matter if MSM calls Biden 270. It literally doesn't matter. Like, I don't give a fuck what the MSM does. I don't give a fuck what they do, and you shouldn't give a fuck what they do either, because they're gonna lie, and expect them to lie and deal with it. Deal with the consequences of them lying. It doesn't mean anything from what we do. We have the frame. We have the truth. They can lie all they want. We're not gonna stop. We're gonna keep going with it. We're gonna take to the streets if we have to take to the streets, and we're gonna take it to the court. Most importantly. The MSM can lie till they can lie 24/7. They already do this. They've been doing it for months anyway. The whole Russiagate thing, the whole impeachment scandal, they lie all the time. Who gives a fuck what they say? It doesn't matter. People who are brainwashed by them are going to be brainwashed by them. But the truth comes out. We can't be deterred by anything that they do. They literally, all they can do is talk. They don't have any power. All they can do is talk. That's it. No real power. Everyone has a lot to say until they get hit in the face. And they're about to get a beat down. I don't know who Ed Dutton is. I didn't see the Zoom. Can you DM me that? Zoom class teaching them to cheat? I don't know the next 24 hours, guys, but I think Trump will announce on Friday. I think he will announce on Friday. Maybe he's announcing tonight. Bezos sold tons of Amazon stock. Interesting. Well, I mean, I think that there's a long thing with COVID. I don't really. I think you had to let it play out to a large extent. So I don't really have much of an issue with what Trump did with COVID. But, we're entitled to our opinion. The big question from a political perspective would be, did Joe Biden do better? But I don't really want to get into that 3D, because it's not really a reflection of reality to get into, well, would Biden have done this differently? And it's kind of like when you zoom out more and you understand the big picture, all that kind of stuff becomes meaningless and kind of not really reflective of what it's like a mirage. It's like a mirage, like talking point mirage. I know people who would be Antifa. I know a lot of losers who graduated from good schools and came from good families. That's Antifa right there. Druggies and losers who didn't do anything with their lives, who came from good families. There's tons of them. No, there's tons of them. They maybe got like a couple of years in college. Maybe they finished college. Just fucking bums, though. Rich parents. Got all grimy and grungy and hate themselves. Walpurgis night, right? April 31st or April 30th? Yep, Halloween, Walpurgis night. It's where the veil shrinks between the two realms. Cabal probably is betting on Trump at this point. They're gonna make money. Make some cash. Get that cash, Soros. Get that cash. Summary executions for Bolsheviks. I do think it'll happen. Yeah, I know. You see them like I gotten so many trolls. They just keep going and saying, "Oh my god, Cope, you guys are crazy." Wait and see. Wait and see what happens. It's fucking like clueless individuals. Yeah, I wonder if CA is in play. I think it could be. I think New Hampshire is definitely red. Yeah, New Jersey's red, especially in the South. I mean, no, I really do think we're gonna get a ton of stuff. I'm trying to go through this stuff, guys. Do I think Biden wins the MSM and then Trump wins the Supreme Court? That books will still pay out? Yeah, I do. Yeah, I mean, they're not gonna when Trump's going to the Supreme Court. When you have two people who declare victory in a race and it's going to the Supreme Court, you don't give out money prior to that unless you want to get a massive lawsuit and go bankrupt. So they're not going to do it. They're going to continue to hold on to it. I mean, it's obvious. Like if I was a lawyer working for them, it would be a complete no-brainer. Like you do not pay this out, right? You wait because they're going to wait for an official certification before they pay it out. No, she can't. She's not a U.S. citizen. Not yet. Still in the mail. I got something in New York. Yeah, I got something in New York, but I didn't use it. I voted in person. Trump Jiu-Jitsu. Exactly. Well, guys, Jiu-Jitsu, right? Jiu-Jitsu, this is the right-hand path. So you have two ways of fighting. And you have fighting by going aggressive and trying to attack somebody. And then you have fighting by using someone else's momentum against them. And defensive martial arts are based upon using other people's momentum against them. And that's like right-hand path stuff, right? It's like you don't go out of your way to attack somebody, but what you do is you know how to destroy them with their own attack. You allow them, basically, the philosophy is allow them to destroy themselves. Trump's a coward, blocked for being a retard. That's what we do. We block these people. We block dumb people. Pat for president? I don't know about that. Maybe for Congress, who knows? in a different era. That's a good question, Skip. I'm gonna have to think about that. What leaders do we have to flood with calls? My guess is that I would flood the calls for your local congressman, locals, any people, Republicans on your state level. I would flood their offices with calls, especially if you have a Republican state representative. That's pretty big. I'm from the future. Trump won. I don't know about. I think it's just timing. I think it's timing with the DOJ. The art of the steal. How far back is your chat? I'm far back, guys. I'm trying to get over here. Everyone keeps saying 6:30 p.m. Kevin McCarthy, very far. Guys, is Trump on now? I might be. Let's see. China war exercises. BDA stuff, I think, is. I haven't heard much new stuff here. Trump presser at 6:30 EST. How are we doing? Is he on? I'm going down, guys. We might have to do this. I'm checking down here. Let's see here. We got to lift Donald up. Yep. Yep. Stop the steal in Haddonfield. It's a good spot. Let's keep going down here, guys. Is he out now? The Marcus are doing well at the moment. The War Room just got banned from YouTube. What? Trump is on live. All right, guys, we're gonna check it out. I'll see you guys. Big man's on. See ya.